I'm with JB again. We are up in Hendon, and I think this is the final mock test that we are going to be doing.
Hopefully.
I really hope so. Not because I don't want to do it with you anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say something bad, but yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
It's not you, man. It's not you, it's me. Oh my days. Okay, anyway, so we're up in Hendon. We are on another mock test. We've done 2 already. If you haven't seen those videos, I will link those. If you haven't seen those videos, I'll link those at the end. Go and have a look at those because they're really good. Okay, so today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing road signs today.
Interesting.
Because you've not done that, have you?
No.
You haven't had any issues on sat-nav, have you?
I don't think so, not really.
I don't think so. So it's going to be a slightly different test route. I'm also going to hybrid 2 together because I want to test you on more complex junctions.
Okay.
I said that the last mock test that you did was quite tricky, and a few people commented saying that didn't look too difficult.
Yeah.
So there you go. Maybe it's not because it didn't have anything majorly complex on it, but it always seems to catch people out. So anyway, there you go. I guess it's just proofs in the pudding. So we're just going to get on with this today. Like always, follow the road ahead unless I tell you to turn left or turn right, or unless road signs indicate otherwise. If I need you to turn, I will tell you in good time. 1 reversing maneuver, possibly emergency stop, and I'll be asking you to show me, tell me questions again in a second. If you would like to do a mock test on the channel, then follow me on Instagram, send me a DM, and then we can talk about it. Oh, and like always, like, comment, and subscribe because it really does boost the channel, pushes the video out to a wider audience. Really do appreciate the support. Thank you so much to all of you that like and comment on the videos. If you're new, consider subscribing.
Do that.
Yeah. What is the minimum tread depth you're allowed on your tyres? And how would you check to see that they're safe to use on the road?
To check if they're safe, there must be no slash or like holes, bumps, stuff like that.
Okay.
And I think I remember correctly, the minimum depth is like 1.6 millimeter.
Yes.
And across the 3/4 of the tyre.
Someone who hasn't been reading
this
these
one,
at
no,
all.
I remember from the
Centre 3/4, and where else would you? Just in that little bit there, or?
Across the tyre, the whole way.
That's
around.
It. That is it. That's pretty much it. I like that. When we see you next, we'll be starting the test. Drive on to the left when you are ready.
Yeah.
This is JB's final mock test before his big day. He drives well. Some people find following road signs a bit of a challenge. Let's see how JB does. It's a good solid start, steady, solid and in control.
Then you're going to take the second road on the right. The first is here, second is there.
JB's drive is generally quite clean. He checks both mirrors and signals in good time for this junction. And then on this approaching right on the crossroads, leans forwards to get a better view to make sure it's clear. When we go to exit Beaufort Park, this estate, he has a slight issue with pedestrian priority. Pedestrian priority is one of those things that we have to consider whenever we turn into or out of junctions. And at this particular junction, there is a pedestrian that is waiting to cross. JB moves forwards and blocks the road. Now, if this pedestrian just stays where he is as JB moves off, this may go down as not noteworthy. But if this pedestrian wants to cross the road, this could escalate to a driver fault, and the pedestrian does walk across the road. A little further up the road, he's a bit more generous.
And then if you can find somewhere to pull up on the left in a safe place.
JB does okay here. He finds his spot, checks his mirrors and signals at the same time, which in this case I'm going to put as not noteworthy, and then moves in well on the left.
Drive on when you're ready.
And this is where I said he was a bit more generous. There are 2 pedestrians waiting to cross at a refuge island. He slows the car and lets them go. There's absolutely no one behind us. This is actually a nice thing to do. So in this case, I'm going to say well done. Just to avoid any confusion whatsoever, refuge islands are not pedestrian crossings.
I didn't have to.
No?
But if it's safe to let people go, why not? And then a little further up the road, his first mini roundabout, which he handles well.
And then at the roundabout, turn left for me, please.
JB does good all-round observation on the approach to this roundabout and sees an immediate gap. He positions well with his signal on and makes his move. As he comes around this bend, a red car emerges from a junction on his left, mistiming it and actually interfering with us slightly. This is not what you want to be doing on your test.
And then again, at the roundabout, follow the road ahead.
Yep.
He then again has no issue with this upcoming mini roundabout.
And then just over the bridge, we're going to take the next road on the right, which is an entrance to a car park.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
I think it's just beyond that traffic island.
Okay. Signal now. Yeah.
JB now is going to have to do the reverse Bay Park. He again does well with his mirrors and signal and positions nicely in this right turn filter box and waits for his gap to cross.
And then if end of the road here, left.
He now gets momentarily confused with the road markings. If it is clearly marked as one way, the examiner won't say anything. It's up to you to work it out.
I'm not sure I'm going to go there. Okay, I'm going to go this way to make sure.
JB makes the right choice.
Okay, clearly said otherwise.
And then I'd like you to find any bay you like
Yeah.
to do a reverse Bay Park, finishing off in between the lines. You choose.
Yeah. Okay.
On both previous mock tests, JB struggled with the reverse. It's not that he can't do the maneuver, he can, but what he tends to mess up is the observation. JB starts off well by doing all-round effective observation before moving off. He has positioned himself a little bit too close to the bays, but he's not parking in between cars, so this is not a major issue. He then looks over his shoulder before the car swings out, and his observation seems on point. He doesn't, however, get it into the bay, so he needs to do a correction.
Just gonna make sure.
As he moves forwards, he loses slight control of the car. He continues his good all-round observation as he lines up with the bay in front and then reverses the car back, thinking he's in the bay, but unfortunately he's not. He correctly makes the car safe before he opens his door to check.
Not at all. Am I? Am I allowed to go out and check the other side?
I guess you could if you make the car safe.
Yeah. To be honest, I can't really see the line, but here on that side it's not. I was actually basing myself on the ones ahead, but I think it's
So you're not done yet?
No, I'm gonna just move again. Sorry about that.
And this is what can happen. You have to think the worst case scenario. He now has to do a second correction,
Right.
and this is where you can drop the ball. He moves quite far forwards into the bays opposite, which I would not recommend. And then when he sticks it in reverse, he forgets to do a good all-round check. It is possible that on the day an examiner might let that go. But today, this is a serious fault for observations on the reverse Bay Park. We had talked a lot about this, and I think I'm a little disappointed.
You done?
Yep.
Yes? Okay. Alright, brilliant. Right, drive on when you're ready, please, buddy.
And after a little drive around the car park, we find ourselves heading to the exit.
And then at the end of the road, you're going to turn right.
JB's now turning right on what can sometimes be a bit of a tricky road, but he's let out, so it's not a major issue.
Here.
End of the road, turn right, that's it.
The white van on his right kindly lets him go, but JB doesn't rush and waits for a gap on his left. He then leaves a good separation gap between him and the vehicle in front and waits to get a good view on this pedestrian crossing.
Okay, so the road is going to split into two. I'd like to follow the road ahead.
JB's approaching the stop sign and once again brings the car to a complete stop. He also doesn't look right until he's done so, but he almost pushes the car a little bit too far. I'm going to say he just about gets away with that, so this is just fine. And then a little further up the road, we start following road signs.
And if you just follow the signpost to Totteridge here for me, please.
Yes.
Totteridge is a simple right turn on this roundabout. JB does well here. He's confident. He doesn't have any blockers coming from his left-hand side, and he's got this vehicle which drives over the slight right-hand side of the centre markings. That's really not what people should be doing. It makes it very difficult to judge the gap when they do that. Needless to say, on your driving test, go round them the correct way.
And then you're just going to be following the signpost to Central London.
Yeah.
Or Mill Hill.
Or Mill Hill?
Or Mill Hill.
JB's going to be turning right third exit on the apex corner roundabout. There was quite a lot of traffic, so we've just skipped straight to it. It is incredibly busy, and these two vehicles in front have demonstrated exactly what you must not do if you're turning right.
That guy's got himself in trouble there.
I'm going to try and not do that.
Or going anywhere on this roundabout. JB is going to have to be incredibly patient. When this roundabout gets this busy, you can find yourself there for a minute or possibly more, waiting for the right gap. When he does finally get himself moving, he just saunters across the gap. I wouldn't recommend doing that. There's a car coming from the right-hand side which he actually slightly interferes with, which there was no need to do because he could have just got on the gas. It's only a minor interference, so in this case, as I said, it's just a driver fault for crossing traffic. JB then follows his lane well round to the right, sticking to the middle lane and following the road markings, and then checks both mirrors and signals well for exit. Again, his mirrors come after signal, but I'm going to put this down as not noteworthy. After all, it's his awareness that's more important.
Okay, and then in the next roundabout you're going to be following the road ahead, okay?
Yeah.
JB then moves immediately back to left-hand lane, normal driving position.
So is it next roundabout ahead?
Yes.
JB picks up his speed well, but this overtaking vehicle cuts right across in front of him. Now it's not JB's fault, but he is a little close to the vehicle in front. I'd have liked him to drop back a little sooner, but he does eventually create a nice gap. So again, I'm going to put this as not noteworthy. JB again does well on this roundabout, following the road ahead, keeping good lane discipline. He does check mirrors, but doesn't signal to exit. In reality, he's got nowhere else to go. He must be following the road ahead, so I guess the signal's not a major issue. But on the day, I gave him a driver fault for necessary signal. I guess I wasn't feeling in a generous mood. Up ahead of him, another vehicle pulls out in front of him, and he drops back nicely, creating space. Another example of not what to do on your driving test. However, it is a large vehicle, which probably struggled to get out. What precedes is just a bit of dual carriageway work, and he's driving continuously in the left-hand lane. So let's move on to the next instruction.
And now you're just going to be following the signpost to the A1.
A1, okay.
JB's had no problems following route directions at all, and the A1 is marked here. Up ahead, it gets a bit tight with a bus and traffic on his right-hand side. I'd have liked him to have reduced speed a little bit more, but nothing happens. So again, I guess this is just not noteworthy. He makes his way through the traffic lights, up onto the A1. And he then, again, picks up his speed well. A little further up the road, he gets a little confused about whether he's on a slip road and signals, but then realises it's not necessary and just cancels it. This kind of thing happens when you're just not familiar with the area.
And then for your advanced planning, in about 800 yards, we're going to be turning right at the next set of traffic lights.
Okay.
JB responds immediately, moving to the middle lane. He then moves straight into the right-hand lane, which could have been a problem if there'd been lots of traffic behind us, because it was a little early. However, as I said, there is no one behind us at all, so in this case, it's just fine. JB then again checks mirrors well and signals in good time to move into this right filter lane position. He's been driving on high-speed roads for quite a while now and responds well to this new 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's very easy when you have been travelling at higher speeds to make a mistake and speed. But JB doesn't have this problem at all. He does well here. A little further up the road, he jumps into a meeting situation. He gets away with it, but it's just a bit unnecessary. He uses the space well, encouraging the truck to give him a little bit more room. But he didn't need to do it.
And then at the traffic lights, turn right for me, please.
He's now turning right on a crossroads that has caught a few of my learner drivers out in the past. But again, he has no problem at all. He moves easily into a near-side to near-side position, cautiously edges forwards when he thinks it's clear, and crosses the gap without a problem. He then adjusts his speed well for the tight conditions. He's shortly going to have to deal with another pedestrian priority situation. This one he sees and handles very differently.
And then if you take the next road on the right for me, please.
Yeah.
He's turning right from a major road into a minor road, and there are some pedestrians that are waiting to cross. The highway code stipulates that if pedestrians are waiting to cross, you should let them go, and if they're in the road, you must. And when you're turning right, this definitely poses a few questions. It's not always easy, especially if there's vehicles behind you putting you under pressure. Your judgment of the situation is always involved. This, however, works out perfectly.
And just when it's safe to do so, if you could open a side window for me, please.
The show me question on the move, and JB, once again,
That's it. Thank you you very much.
Has no problem here. We're almost done heading back to test centre, and JB is now driving down a steep hill. In a manual car, sometimes it can be tempting to put your clutch down when you use your brake, but JB has no problem here whatsoever and rides his brake down the hill. There's only one thing left of note, so we're going to jump to that now. JB is turning right into the last junction at the end of the test, and he just ever so slightly crosses the centre line, which pushes the oncoming vehicles to move over slightly for him. It's only a minor interference, but he definitely should have been on his side of the road, so this is a driver fault for turning right. And that's it. End of test.
How was that?
Good, but yeah, observations when driving back.
Okay.
In the parking space bits.
So
that is a serious fault.
So you take that as a serious. So you think you failed?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. That Bay Park actually caused you a bit of problems, didn't it?
Yeah.
What were you trying to line up with?
I actually thought the lines were the same on both sides.
But what have you got what should you be using?
Yeah, but I to be honest, I couldn't really see in the mirrors. Like it was
even the little one?
Like now I can really see that, but like in the sun there, it was a bit really blurred out, and I
really? You couldn't see. What about on that side?
Not very well. Like at some points.
What about on that side?
Same thing. Like the lines were pretty much not showing very well, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to use the ones in front, and it was actually not lined up.
Yeah, they're not always lined up. Look.
So my mistake.
I gave you a driver fault for the control element because you also lost a little bit of control on the hill as you went to move off. Mm-hmm. Now, you did most of your observation really well.
Yeah.
It was just one correction where you went forwards and then you came back. Now, it is possible that you may have demonstrated enough on a real test, but I'm failing you for that.
Yeah, I understand. I knew it.
When I say it's possible, I mean it is possible, but you've moved the car forwards and now you're going to go back into the space. What could have changed behind us?
Anything, someone comes by, I mean...
So this is still there. Look, I thought the rest of it was really good. There's a little bit of discrepancy when it comes to mirror work occasionally. Sometimes you're checking mirrors at the same time. Sometimes you're not checking them as you move off. You're not doing all three mirrors, which I'd like to see a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And occasionally your mirrors for signal is slightly off. Signal, this is to exit the Mill Hill Circus. You didn't have a signal to exit. We're going ahead, second exit.
Yes, yeah.
I don't really feel it's 100% necessary there, because you're in left-hand lane. So
I thought about it.
It could go down as not noteworthy, to be honest. But in this case, I've just decided to driver fault you. Just here at the end, you're slightly on the wrong side of the road. You didn't interfere with anybody, but you're slightly over the line as you're turning right. Ever so slightly. One driver fault there. At the beginning of the test, coming out of the junction over there, pedestrian on the right-hand side. Now, I wasn't 100% sure whether they were going to walk across the road or not because it didn't look 100% like they were. But they did. Straight after you cleared, they walked across the road. But you've just come up to the mouth of the junction without even sort of registering, and you have no idea what I'm talking about. And that's because you didn't register them. You did really well with the pedestrian priority situation, and you were turning right, which is harder. Mm-hmm. And then the guy let you go. But I kind of like that because they were looking to walk straight across. And you chose, in this case, to wait. And I thought that was really good. Apex Corner was really busy.
Yeah, quite.
You finally found a gap. You went.
Yeah.
But you really kind of just ambled across like you had all the time in the world. And there was a car coming round, which we did slightly interfere with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt on this one. I'm just going to put it down as a driver fault for crossing traffic. But you've just entered the apex where you had to wait forever to get across.
Yeah.
What should we be doing if we want to get across that gap? Because cars come round really quick, right? Do we want to go slowly or should we just get across quick?
Oh, yeah, you mean at the end. Yeah, okay.
Just getting across.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You just took your time.
Yeah. I kind of felt like I was starting and I was already there.
But then you just ambled across and that car came around. Now, we did have a slight interference with that vehicle.
Yeah, you're right.
Not enough, I don't think, in this case that that's going to go against you as a serious fault, but it's one to be careful of. If we're moving across the apex corner and it's a really busy junction, get across that gap. Don't dawdle. But that was really difficult today. Look, overall, again, I thought you did really well. There aren't a lot of driver faults on here either. I could be a little bit picky, I think, with regards to your mirror work sometimes. I could be, but I do think your overall observation is pretty good. Kind of want your mirror work to be a little bit better, but Bay Parking, man.
Yeah, I know.
What is going on with the reverse here?
I was thinking about it so hard. I think it was like a brain fart kind of stuff, because honestly, I was only thinking about that. And thinking about it, I was like, okay, it's going to be all right. And reverse. And I was like, what? So honestly, I would put
You
it
did
down
most
to
of
that.
your observation really well. It was just that one.
Yeah. And
Okay.
immediately I was like, what just happened? Like, what? Yeah.
So we still have work to do on reversing. That was a reasonably tricky route, I think. I mean, it took in the apex corner, following road signs. How did you find following road signs?
Not that hard, to be honest. That part I thought was okay. Yeah. It's pretty clear, wide roads, dual carriageways, stuff like that. So, yeah, that was okay. That part was fine.
This, I hope, is going to be JB's. If he doesn't mess up his reversing when it comes to his real test. It's JB. I hope he's got this today. He's back.
Come on, JB. Let's see.
And the examiner was having a go at him. On the way up here, he was coming to every single junction, and he was just, I don't know, like, he just didn't want to go. It was like these massive gaps, he didn't want to go. How many times did you do that on test, JB?
Twice, maybe 3 times.
I think he said 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think he said 3 or 4.
Holy moly!
I don't know how he did it. He did it. Boom. I hope you've got some value out of this video. If you have, obviously hit the like button, subscribe if you like more content, and I will again see you in the next one. I hope this has been valuable to you too.
Yeah, it really was. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
See you in the next one. Get Will out.